Let's look at another example here. So here you're just given some equation, some function. You're just given this graph. Okay, so we can call this, so normally you would see something like y equals x squared plus, let's say, 2x minus 7. Maybe that's what this graph is. I don't know. Okay, don't quote me on that. I'm just giving you an example. So let's say that this graph here, let's say that it's something like this, but we don't know if this is actually correct. So instead of saying that, we're just going to say y equals f of x. Now all this means is that y is some function. Okay? If you guys remember functions from like year 7, you'd have like a function machine. You'd have, like, say you put in, you'd have your input and your output, right? Put something into the machine, the function machine here. Let's say it's like +3, so your output would be 6, right? So all we're saying is that this parabola, this graph, it's some function. Y equals some function f of x, okay? Don't get too hung up on this f of x, it just means function, okay? So you're going to be given a question that says something like estimate the solution for f of x equals 0, or it could be solutions. Okay, estimate the solutions for f of x equals 0. Well, what does that mean? Well, all that's talking about is we have this graph here. This is our f of x, okay? Right? We're looking where f of x is equal to 0. Okay? And if you watched the previous video, okay, when we're looking at 0, we're looking at 0 on the y-axis. So 0 on the y-axis, it's really this line here, right? It's really just the x-axis. I know it sounds confusing. But the x-axis is this line, basically where y is equal to 0. And we're looking for where does this graph, where does this function intersect with this line, this y equals 0 line? Well, it hits right there, and it hits right there. So looking at our scale, we'd say this one here, it's about, let's say, like 2.6. So x equals 2.6. And x equals, let's look over here, so there's two solutions. Let's say like x equals 8.8. Okay, so there's our estimated solutions for f of x equals 0. Right? I hope that made sense. Please feel free to comment some questions on Google Classroom if it didn't make sense. If you don't like my explanations, feel free to check out a couple of other YouTube channels. Right? You have Khan Academy, right? And there's also another one, Patrick JMT, is really good. Okay, so a couple different kinds of, a couple different channels for different kinds of explanations. So this is graphical solution example. So we're solving quadratics here.